things about
maybe
social media
why
and presence and where our stuff is and how
we've been talking on the hope end of things.
Yeah.
Right now, we're sort of sharing YouTube with 1.0.
Mm-hmm.
And that's getting complicated and kind of messy.
Okay.
And so, the other piece of there's like 6 different things happening here, right? And I'm just trying to bring them all together. And
fair enough.
We're gonna knit something together here, we hope.
Okay.
The other piece is that when you go to Central's YouTube, there are so many videos now of different kinds, and they're all just there. And it's getting hard to sort through and find things because everything's just there. I mean, you can find things chronologically, but you have to you have to know what you're looking for, and you have to go to the right place.
Right.
Right. It has worked well as a good video library. But the librarian in me says it's time to start cataloging and getting things a little more accessible.
Okay.
Okay. So, enter Tyler Wolford, who is who lives a significant, no, I don't want to say that, who lives some of his life on YouTube. I don't want to make it sound like you're just always on the computer, Tyler, because you're not. But
I guess I have to excavate sometimes.
Right. And Tyler said, I can help. I want to help. I want to help with the hope side of YouTube, and I want to help us make YouTube valuable not just as a library, but as a tool for engagement.
Okay.
And until we had this conversation, I never thought about YouTube particularly being social media.
Okay.
But it is. It has developed into that. Since its inception, I'm not even sure it was meant to be what it has become, but people are engaging in communities on YouTube. And this is why Tyler's so excited about it, because he's in several of those. So you want to talk about that experience, Tyler?
Yep.
Sure. So I guess maybe the most comparable one would be, so Nerdfighteria would be one of them that I'm thinking of, which is Hank and John Green. So, crud, what did he write? What was his book? Fault in Our Stars. But then also Hank, they're brothers, and their YouTube channel started off as that they had moved away from each other and were sending videos back and forth, and they had weird rules about how they had to be. But this eventually they end up getting involved in a bunch of other projects and such, and this becomes this huge community, and they do a bunch of stuff, a lot of charity work, and a lot of different things. I think they have a book group. They have a bunch. Like the YouTube channel isn't one channel; it's like 10 channels now.
Okay.
It's huge, and there's a lot
Each one with its own associated community, pretty much.
Yes and no. I don't know.
Okay.
Because then I would know which one. I kind of, pop around different ones. But they do different things. So, like, you have Crash Course, which is entirely educational, in which they work with people, and they have animators and stuff, and they make videos about different topics and such. That's pretty fun and cool. But that's the very different thing than, like, one channel is where I think John Green does like Let's Plays with video where he's just playing video games and talking over it. But that ends up that's a huge thing on YouTube. It ends up being less about the video games and more about the conversations that you have and such. At least when I watch them, that's what I want to watch, you know. I'd rather.
My daughter does that. My daughter and her fiance, they will stream themselves playing video games. And there's a community that builds up around these shared game experiences.
Yeah.
Which
I think Ben Melby might be doing something similar.
Yeah. You know, I can't wrap my head around that, but it is. And it is whether I can wrap my head around it or not.
Right.
Still is reality.
Okay.
So Tyler came to me with a proposal after I asked him to. We sort of came to that at the same time, I think. But what would it look like to work with our YouTube to make it accessible for different things, like to add different channels for our different things.
Keep going. Yeah.
And to catalog, I mean, in my mind, it's to catalog, but to categorize the work we've done and the work we will do, and the way that 1.0 and Hope are doing different things too, to create homes for all of those things. Like, so we could have, as I understand it, a Hope channel,
Mm-hmm.
a 1.0 complete worship service channel,
Mm-hmm.
a channel for just our musical videos, maybe. I don't know. But we can separate out the kinds of videos we're producing. And we're also talking about developing some adult education stuff. And we don't know which platform we want that to live on yet. But if we had a YouTube channel, if Central had a YouTube channel for some of our evergreen adult ed content that we want to create, that would be a separate channel.
Okay.
Right. So it's the closest I can get to it in my head is like different pages on a website. Sort of.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. Mark and I actually before.
Oh, I'm just saying that that's true, but there's also the playlist level, and depending on, so I can imagine some of those things being separate playlists within one channel.
Oh, okay.
But that's a debate. That's a question that we'll have to answer depending on how we imagine things growing, but that's just there's levels to this to which we can do it. To which,
see, I have not grasped the onion yet.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm still on the outside too. So, but I've got a couple of thoughts.
Okay.
Playlist, as I understand it, is a collection of videos, usually common theme, and they jump to one another sequentially, or is it like a separate catalog? If I were to go to a channel with active playlists, can I select a playlist based on my interest?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I just going to drop into it?
No, you'd select it.
Okay. All right. Okay. I didn't understand that part of that.
Hmm.
All right.
See, you're already over my head, but okay.
Just to back up 10 steps, when we first started with YouTube back in 2011, it was to supplement the recordings for the shut-ins. I mean, it's kind of single purpose. We got the license to CCLI and WorshipCast, so that allowed us to add music. So then we added the entire service. But clearly there are other things going on here. And I get what you're saying in terms of trying to have different focuses. We had, under the old web page, Michelle, Mark and I had started to develop separate pages, mm-hmm. which had special music and had historical stuff. And so we had kind of used a web approach to doing some of that. But clearly, if YouTube has adequate or superior tools, we ought to be, I don't think we ought to be tied to a web presence, especially since web development is time consuming and centric. You have to have a centralized web developer, pretty much, or a tightly integrated team. And if you don't have that, it gets the architecture gets difficult.
Right.
But
so so the question that is rising is, how can we use YouTube to its fullest capacity, not duplicate effort by having, if YouTube can be the place where our video presence is, mm-hmm. then we don't have to duplicate effort by putting stuff in, making it work on the website as well.
Right. No, I get that.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking as I'm talking here. So,
okay.
So, and how can we leverage what we already have with YouTube into a bigger presence that can engage more people? Because right now we are in the throes of asking, given this COVID reality and given the reality that people are not going to be coming back in large numbers, probably for at least a year, we have to start acting as if that's true instead of just hoping it's not.
I think you're right.
I'd rather be pleasantly surprised with people flooding back.
Sure.
But so acting as if this is a reality, how can we increase our engagement and connection with people who find us on various media?
Got it. I agree.
Right? And so how can we leverage YouTube instead of just using it as a storage place? How can we leverage it? And that's what Tyler is extremely keen to take on and try.
I think that's great. I think, the course Mark and I are doing with video editing, hopefully we're trying to seed more content developers. Well,
right.
And we started, I've done the highlight videos, which Martina has been posting, I assume, mostly to Facebook, but probably other things. But there's going to be
mostly
more.
Facebook, yeah.
But there's going to be more of that. If missions gets aggressive, if education gets aggressive, it shouldn't all be in one pile.
No.
I absolutely agree.
So Tyler has volunteered, bless his heart, to try to make some order out of what could be chaos and lay some foundations for those expansions.
I think it's great. I think it sounds terrific.
And that means, Tyler, tell me a little, why don't you tell Carl and me in the same place at the same time a little bit about what you have envisioned for such a scenario?
Sure. Let me bring up the proposal because I think I
did not send that out because I wanted to talk first before we got into those.
Sure.
So he has written a proposal up. Did I send it? Let me send that now.
I did not get it.
Okay.
Because I have a list of suggested playlists, and I think the playlists could individually then be spun out into channels when that becomes necessary. And I think they're things that grow, depending on, it's going to be more an art than a science on when we make that call and determination.
Okay.
But what's really nice is when you're talking about the website, that you guys had already been thinking about that. So it'd be nice to sort of think together about different playlists. So I thought definitely a playlist where the services exist in their fullness, or highlight reels. That's great. That's actually probably going to get more replay stuff than the full one.
Yeah. Well, we also might, because we're hatching a plan, incubating a plan to create house churches and to offer people the ability to either, as a gathering, a smaller gathering of people, to watch the whole live stream, or they may just want to watch the sermon. So we would need to start excerpting out the sermon as well.
Well, yes and no. I mean, right now, if you look on the web page of the edited version, generally we catalog. I'm usually a couple of days behind, but we catalog the service, including the start times for things. So if you go to the information on a service 2 weeks ago, you'll see that the sermon might start at 23 minutes, right? Well, that can become part of a hyperlink. So rather than producing two separate contents, one playlist could theoretically, I would think, or a web page could reference a sermon from the original list, from the original. Basically, you add a field to the URL that includes its start time. So you've got one piece of content that can have different pointers to it. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but that's something I've never seen, at least on YouTube. Usually what ends up happening, I've seen a lot of, is you end up with like best of videos where someone has a long, particularly like these sort of Let's Plays where it's kind of, we could sort of think of it as the same thing as a live event that's really long and there's points. And they go through and they pick out the bits, condense it down, and that becomes the video that people tend to watch later. Although the original still stays too. You end up with both. So you end up with two things.
So people aren't taking a whole video and finding their way through it. This is a click and go culture, Carl. So
I understand, but the click and go can be nothing more than a simple URL with a timestamp, with a start time on it. I'll send you. Right. So I
just sent Tyler's proposal, by the way.
Okay,
it
good.
should be finding its way to you.
And although I haven't done a lot of this within YouTube, it's possible to include a hyperlink that would jump to another video.
Okay, if that works, I mean, it seems like high road, low road, as long as it gets to the same end, where somebody could have a playlist that's only sermons, like you wanted to sit and just listen to them, or only music or something like that.
I'm not arguing for one strategy over another. I'm just saying it's a possibility.
That's the thing. I think there's so many different paths we could take.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler has wrapped his head around this. I thought his proposal looked pretty good. And so,
great.
I mean, very good, not pretty good, Tyler. It looked very good.
Can you call that document up, or should I call it up on a separate?
Do you want me to put it on the screen share?
That'd be great. Yeah.
Oh, I can do that. Well, let me pull it. Let me pull up the document first. How about that?
Yeah.
Well, hang on. Trying to get everything else off my screen.
Yeah, I know.
It's like
multitasking.
Well,
it's amazing how many different.
It's just what I was doing when it was time to start with us.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying is that I tend to go down one rabbit hole after another, but when I start closing windows, I said, "Oh God, I never did that. I never finished that. I never finished that." I think it's mental disease here.
Share screen. Okay. Are you seeing it?
I am.
Okay. So the problem is, tell me where you want to go.
Okay, so let's go down to the next. What's the next topic?
Hang on, I was trying to share with everybody and
let
everybody move. All right. Model for a YouTube community.
And this is 𝘾𝙀𝙉𝙏𝙍 again. So this is.
I got you. 𝘾𝙀𝙉𝙏𝙍. I get it.
And this is not something we have to work out completely today.
I get it.
So. Can I go up more?
Yes. I'm okay to go up.
All right. There's the proposal.
Okay. So we're going to organize the existing channel into the best form of content we're already making. Okay. Full services, 𝘾𝙀𝙉𝙏𝙍 music. Yep. Got it.
Tyler, talk about the starter pack.
This is one thing that, so a lot of the YouTube landing page, the main page, actually the best example I can think of is from one of the Let's Plays where they literally call it this, the starter pack, which has basically videos that if you had never been on that channel before and you only know, I don't know, one thing about them, somehow you in there, this is supposed to give you the best understanding of what they do.
What we're all about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you would put that there and you would have that close to the top on your page so that shortish playlist gives everybody, basically puts them in an equal footing with anyone else on it. So they're like, okay, I understand what these guys are about. Now I could navigate other places at my leisure and really engage with this material in a more clear footing. It's a clear place to start. Maybe it's the best way to put it.
Sure.
And these would be videos.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And this is one where it's the only part of this, what I'm calling my phase one, that maybe would require new content. Like, I don't know. that.
No, I think you're right. I think a welcome to Central kind of thing.
Well, and one of the things we really ought to consider doing is key messages. Wouldn't it be nice to have a message out from Sarah Maroney, telling people about the, whatever, maybe the elementary grade program and what we're trying to teach, right? Or something from Joe about a statement.
Central serves, yeah.
Yeah, we're gearing up for the shelter buckets, and let me spend 2 minutes promoting that. Mm-hmm. Kind of a thing.
Or, this is who we, a welcome to Central. This is who we are. This is what we believe and who we are. It's sort of your homepage, the equivalent of your homepage for your website,
sure.
Right? It's just, you've landed here. Let's give you a little information before you start playing around. And
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And even to the point of, as we start populating in-person services, key people. Wouldn't it be nice if people could put a face to Knut?
Yeah.
Because he's got an important role. They ought to be able to recognize a pastor without a name tag.
Maybe. Yeah.
So all these things could sit in smaller announcement type videos.
Well, and I love that Tyler is wrapping his brain around this and is excited about this, because I think there's a lot of potential here.
Yeah. Now I just wrote down the word time here because there's going to be a major commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest, I think Mark and I are pretty well.
You're tapped out. You're already at full capacity.
Yeah. I mean, I have to start getting a note from the wife, but no, right. I think as we move into this, there's got to be, there is going to be a huge time commitment.
You heard the part where Tyler volunteered, right?
I'm just looking for his confirmation, but he didn't faint, so I guess we're okay.
He knows. He gets it.
Okay.
I mean, I asked him to think about it before he charged in, because he's got a lot on his plate, but like we all do. But there is excitement in young Tyler, and I believe the energy to make this happen.
Well, it is fun building a new structure.
It is, but it can be very time consuming. But I think Tyler's been sitting with this for a few weeks now, because he gave this to me before I had to go to Alabama or to Georgia. And so he's been sitting on this for a while, just thinking about it. Mm-hmm. So I imagine some more bright ideas have occurred to him in the last month.
I'll want to read this,
sure.
Carefully.
Did you get
separately?
It?
I didn't even look. Let me see. Did
you
send an email?
Yeah, I did. So you'll get it. Let me know if you don't.
I will. Tyler, tell me about the communication? How do you envision the different sub-channels, I'm going to call it for now, but that's just a name. How do you see them communicating? How do you see it engaging more communication between people?
Well, there's a few different ways in which this happens. There's the sort of the simplest answer is that you have comment sections and people respond in that, and that's one place. There is a general sort of forum part of YouTube mm-hmm. that can facilitate some of this stuff. Sometimes it's people making videos in response. Like I can imagine that happening. Like we make a video about, I don't know, and then people do reaction videos or something like that, where then we connect the channel to the other channel. Like, oh, this is now either an affiliated channel or something like that. And the relationship is actually good.
I can see that with Hope more than I can see it with Central. Mm-hmm. But I think, there could be some interesting mission applications of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Here's our video saying, choose a project, do a project, send us a video, link us a video of what you've done, right? Mm-hmm. How did you help the world this week, kind of thing. And mm-hmm. that's engagement. That's not just people watching it. That's people engaging and connecting and building a relationship.
And truthfully, on that level, it could be nothing more than a short selfie video.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, I'm thinking the parallel to in-person worship. You have 100 people in the sanctuary, and Joe comes and corners somebody and says, you know, I could really use your help at Shepherd's Supper. Mm-hmm. Well, there's got to be, we're really talking about almost creating an electronic component of that. You know, so how do we capture somebody that's new to the church? How do we get them to buy into working with missions, because missions has a need?
And we're doing some of that with Facebook too, and we will be talking about things like Facebook Live and stuff, Facebook Live for Central and Instagram Live for Hope at Central, which will do those things too. Those are different kinds of video interactions.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
Those are short, critical things, acute things, right? I think. Mm-hmm. And then YouTube's a little more evergreen, right?
What do you mean by that?
I don't get that.
Well, if a Facebook Live video that asks people to respond with their own video or whatever, that's ephemeral, right? That's an in the moment kind of thing. Mm-hmm. We're talking about this thing in this moment, right? But the YouTube videos, the YouTube content is more permanent.
Right. And that's one of the entire reasons for getting it organized into playlists is the expectation that people aren't going to react on it only today, but maybe in 2 years.
Right.
And there be
whereas
Facebook,
Instagram, those are right now and very ephemeral. Mm-hmm. Nobody goes back and looks up Facebook 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. YouTube is your sort of permanent video presence.
Right.
If anything is permanent in this type of world.
We go back to 2011. That's not permanent, but it's not bad.
Well, right.
You know,
it makes us early adopters.
Yeah, it does. It does. But I like what I'm hearing in this conversation, because I think it allows us to do more with video, and it doesn't turn our back on the fact that we've got shut-ins who want to watch the service.
No, not at all.
That's the part that I've been involved in for so long. But I can also see especially playing with the highlight videos. That's been kind of fun. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
If we streamline our arrangement of it all, separate things, then the service videos can have their own home, mm-hmm. so that a homebound person or their child or whoever who's trying to set them up to watch the service doesn't have to sift mm-hmm. through all the stuff.
Yeah, but if you had a separate, but in addition to that, if education had their own set of, I'm going to call them services or activities, mm-hmm. and it's easy to find rather than just wading through a chronological list. I absolutely get that. I think it sounds great. I don't fully understand how the playlist. I have to see it, so I'll go back to some of the references you suggested, Tyler.
Yeah.
But
within that, actually, as a suggestion, the original Vlogbrothers channel is actually a good place to start to get a sense of Nerdfighteria and how they do things. Because right now, particularly, they've been in the videos back and forth. They've been talking about YouTube, like what it means to have a channel, and they're really reflective right now. Mm-hmm. Both Hank and so you can get there's a reflection on what you do with, I don't know, when you're popular and stuff like that, and is it worth it, and that kind of thing. When your sort of things take off and stuff like that.
Sure.
So that's philosophically really useful stuff, because they're really reflective on that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Interesting.
So
I will go ahead.
We'll have to figure out what's the next step from here.
Well, can I touch on three things real quick?
Yep.
As this moves forward, I was before we decided to get together. I had three things in mind. One is we develop more content. Copyright becomes a real issue and something we have to be careful of. We touched on it a little bit in the class, but I think as we have more content developers, they need to be aware of what the restrictions are in terms of what we can what we can rebroadcast.
Right.
Okay. The second thing is Mark and I are trying to work on, and this largely has to do with integrating the live stream, but the workflow of how video gets into our system is something we're kind of wrestling with. For instance, if Joe or Laurel or Sarah produce a video and they want it in the live stream on Sunday, right now it's, it's a little bit of Dropbox, a little bit of SneakerNet. What we hope to do is create a system so that a content developer can get the video to where it needs to be. Now, right now, it's mostly to Mark, because Mark is the one that's lining up the video for the live stream.
So,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
So my question that goes along with that is, during the live stream, you can play a YouTube video, right?
Yeah, subject to copyright.
Right, well, so question part two, can a YouTube channel be accessible only to a certain number of people on our YouTube account? So, like, can you create a developer's channel?
That's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's precisely what we're talking about.
Do you see what I mean? So that our content developers will have that upload and they will upload there, and then we can just play from that, right?
And
is that what
you're... Absolutely. So let's say you have 5 people that are producing content. The stuff that goes in the live stream, somebody from TV Ministry is going to massage, in theory. But at that same time, that same video could go to Facebook through, maybe through Martina's efforts, or it could go to one of these other playlists.
I don't know. I'm asking because I don't know.
The answer,
because you wouldn't...
it's almost like basically it's a shared workspace for content developers. Right?
Is that even possible, Tyler, to create a channel that would be a backstage channel?
I don't see why not. I never in a million years would have thought of it, but it's a good idea. Yeah, that should work. Why not? Yeah.
And truthfully, the easy thing to do is to everything that goes into the developer's channel is set up as an unlisted video. The advantage to that is that nobody sees it unless they know the URL.
Right.
But Mark, who is, for instance, going to pull down video to work with the live stream, can go in because he has the URL. You kind of getting it?
Unless we have a backstage channel that would be simpler than that.
Well, that's kind of what Mark and I have been wrestling with, primarily with the live stream, but it should be able to expand to everything. So if, it's almost like a big file cabinet.
Yeah.
So I'm going to kind of work with that anyway, because we want to do this as part of the class we're running, and we'll just try to make it scalable.
Okay. And Tyler, you can try to wrap your head around that piece too.
Yeah, because it seems to me the question there would be a matter of access. I mean, the unlisted thing makes sense, but I wonder if they could even be stronger in that. But I don't know. This is because usually it's the opposite problem. You want more people.
You want everybody to see everything you're putting out there.
Yeah,
but this should be possible.
I think it is. I'm playing with a couple of different ways of getting at it. Right now, with the group we have in the class, not everybody has a Google account, or at least they haven't shared a Gmail account with us. One of the simplest things to do is to make it a Google Drive that's shared. All right. And maybe we just have to ask developers to create a Google account for themselves.
Right. It's not hard. It's not hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And basically they should be able to cover the cost.
Yeah. Right.
But that way, and that also helps with the copyright issue, because before it goes to the live stream, you have a set of eyes that looks at it and says, whoa, wait a minute, we can't do this. because it's clearly commercial music, for instance. You know, there's a temptation when you add music to a video, you want to say, well, gee, I love the Doobie
I just want to add
Brothers
this song without even thinking about copyright or licensing.
Yeah. So at least there's somebody that looks at it and says, okay, well, this really meets the smell standard. Or, whoa, wait a minute, maybe this isn't something we want to post. Let's have Pastor Michelle look at it first. So at any rate, I think that those two things work in Access. And the other thing is just the open YouTube channel, rather the public YouTube channel or channels. We just have to think through access to that, because I don't think we want 10 people being able to post stuff on the church's YouTube page. I think there's got to be some key players that can do that have a common understanding. Otherwise,
procedure.
Yeah.
So what'd you say?
Like a procedure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Particularly, I think it even makes more sense thinking about the copyright stuff, because again, it's sort of like there's checks.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Yeah, and the other thing it does, if you have a core of people that can do this, is everybody needs a vacation, and you have a right to be sick on occasion.
What?
So it's good to have backup. It's good to have somebody else that can step in and say, okay, I can do it. I can do it this week. But those were the thoughts I came into this with.
Well, so are we good with letting Tyler into play?
I don't have any problem with it, and I don't believe Mark will.
Okay, I think we need to get him access then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely, we can do that.
Okay, Tyler, what kind of phase one? As you were thinking about that, what kind of timeline are you? I mean, this isn't the work of but a moment. This is
true.
This will take a bit. So did you have any thoughts in mind about that, and how are Carl and Mark gonna? Are you prepared to walk together with Carl and Mark to continue our posting? You know what I mean? We can't just shut the thing down for 3 weeks.
Right. And I don't think that, like, even as I'm doing it, and it's not complete, like if I'm rearranging stuff, the YouTube should still be accessible and still be live. There's no reason.
Okay.
Because I imagine, this is going to be like done playlist at a time. And I will probably set, as I had in the proposal, I sort of set a date, and I'm not going to go back further than that in the first round. That's how I'm going to control and to keep it a reasonable amount of stuff. Because I think there's but I think there would be great use to going back further later. Because I think the idea you had from the website, Carl, you were talking about a history section or something like that. That would be really cool one to do. But I think I don't know if that's a phase 2 or like a late phase 1-ish kind of thing. But I mean, it's a cool idea. And I
actually, Tyler, when we have a chance offline, I can show you. But we have a website, a historical website right now. Nice. It's really a Google sheet. But we on the website, on the central website, we've got a chronological list that we construct. Basically, we populate a Google web sheet. We've made that sheet a HTML document. So I will send you a link to that so you can see what it looks like. It's ugly. It's really not HTML. It's a Google sheet, but it works.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Well, and at this point, I just wanted to bring y'all together to have this conversation in the same place at the same time. So I sort of knew what direction we were going to go. And so I'm really going to not be part of this ongoing.
Oh, come on.
I have a few other things to do. Dad's estate, and then stewardship and Advent and Christmas. 4 great big things all at the same time. So I'm going to let the boys play and not interfere. I may ask questions now and then, but because I'm still trying to wrap my head around this, but I know that y'all will come to something that is going to function, and that I think will do everything Tyler has big dreams about us doing with our YouTube. And I'm on board with that, because I think we have got to expand our online reach and our ability to engage with people, not just show people what we have, but engage with them as they're watching it and learning from it. So
yeah, no, I agree. And I'm excited about this. This should be good.
Cool.
I think we clearly want to keep Mark tightly in the loop. I know he couldn't be here today. Michelle, you recorded this, did you?
It is being recorded.
It is being recorded.
It is? Okay, sure. It automatically sets up to record. So
did you log in?
I have no idea what to do with the recording afterwards.
I do.
Well, you're signed in as Central as well, so you can do that. I'll make you a co-host. Well, I'm going to stop sharing the screen and make you a co-host or something.
Okay. I will say that what I will do is, Tyler, I'll send Mark a copy of this conversation. But I think as we move forward, because he is so instrumental, especially with the live stream, I think we want to work together. But I'm sure Mark will be very excited about seeing us develop some of the playlists and some of the approach you're talking about.
Carl, you are in charge of the recording. You are currently the host. I'm just the co-host. So
okay,
because you got in first.
Oh, all right.
On the central thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't think I signed up as. Doesn't matter. It
doesn't
is
matter.
Recording.
You're in charge of the recording. So
okay.
If I leave first, you'll be stuck with it, and you can do whatever you need to with it. So why don't I go?
Okay.
Goodbye, gentlemen. I'm excited. I think this could be really, really cool. And I think there are not a lot of churches who are thinking along these lines, and we'll beat them to it.
Sounds good to me. Good seeing you, Michelle.
Good to see you, Carl, even in 2D.
I know it.
All right. Bye, y'all.
So, Tyler, what comes next, do you think? I'll share this material with Mark.
Yeah. So the thing that I think I have to start. Oh crud! And I have way too many files open. Oh, there it is. So, actually, one thing I want to ask you, because this I'm not really sure about in terms of because we can have the full services in a playlist, and then they can also exist just in the video archive, even though they're not in a playlist. And I was thinking about the distinction between the sort of saved version of the live stream that has the feed, the text in it, versus the one that's edited that gets edited and put in later. So we put the later one. I mean,
I can talk. Let me talk that through if I can. What we do, because historically what we're doing is sending this stuff to Time Warner or Spectrum. Mm-hmm. We've got a group of our shut-ins that they religiously, if you pardon the pun, watch us on channel 1301. All right. And as long as they're there, I can't see cutting that out. Spectrum limits us to 1 hour. So I've got to at least get the blessing within that 1 hour. And obviously we don't want to put the countdown timer, and if Sean does 3 or 4 preludes, that may be more than will fit in the hour. So I trim that down. Then what I do is I take the trimmed version, and I've been saving it to YouTube. It doesn't need to be there, truthfully. Except that if somebody wants to go back a year from now to watch the service, they probably don't want to watch an hour and a half, including the countdown timer. So the edit, and sometimes I'll do things like I'll take out mistakes. I'll take, if we fumble a mic situation or something like that gets taken out of the edited version. Then what I do is I go through, and from a copyright standpoint, Jeff Heald tracks what songs are performed and broadcast. All right, that's the 2 licenses we have. So what I do is I Mark and I share a Google sheet, a Google worksheet, and we basically catalog the times, most importantly of the songs, so that Jeff has a way of saying what songs we used. I mean, he has to report monthly on what music we play. So that's part of the process. And then I also add a URL to the service on a historical sheet. And I'll send you copies of those, or I'll send you links to those, okay?
Okay.
So you can see what they look like. So then it goes up. Now, do we need 2 versions available on YouTube? I don't think so. And maybe the edited version is the one that we want in the historical collection, because the live stream includes a lot of stuff. You know, people walking around beforehand, the countdown timer. So I don't know which one you put into the formal collection or not.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think through. And I think the way you're describing it, we absolutely should keep both of them in there. But the question is, which one do we promote in a playlist?
Absolutely.
And I think
you can take a look at them, see what they look like. Typically, the edited version has a snappier title. It's got a date. I put in the announcements I put it in basically a scroll with the announcements. So if somebody's watching it on Time Warner, while Sean's playing, you'll see the actual announcements be run through.
Oh,
it's like reading the announcements in your bulletin, right? So I think the edited version is probably the one we promote.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because the only thing you're losing from the live stream one would be the text comments in the feed.
Yeah.
And which already has me a little squeamish, because I'm not sure to what extent often it's understood how public those things are. So maybe it's better that we promote the other one and keep it on there, but it's no one's going to probably
not up front.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Good.
I get that.
So good. That answers one question, because that might be where I start. It's just one playlist, full edited services, all in a row. There you go.
There you go. I think that makes sense. And also, obviously, breaking out the highlight videos. Because you're right, it just becomes a massive list.
And are all the highlight videos that you've referenced, are they all on YouTube already? Because you talked about some of them going to Facebook.
What I do, again, I'll create a short, usually it's about 2.5 minute highlight. I'll upload that to YouTube, then I email Martina the URL for it.
So it is there.
Yeah, so all she's doing is, she's not actually literally moving it to Facebook, she's just plugging a URL into Facebook.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So edited full service, highlight, feed. And then I would do stuff that has like all the music together, has all the children's time. It's basically that set of, and you'll see it on that, but I would start there, and then the big thing that I think is really important, but needs more thought than what I would feel comfortable doing, is that sort of starter pack list.
Okay.
So that would be something, and we'll definitely get Mark on that and Michelle back in again, because that particular one to me, that's a really important playlist.
I agree.
You're making a statement.
Yeah. Who are these people?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that should be done with a lot of thought.
It was really, really very rewarding. We had a gal came up, I won't tell you. She joined the church probably about 3 years ago. And one day, I didn't know her very well, but she came back up to the tech booth and said, you're the reason I'm here. I said, what? He said, I've been watching you and she was watching us on cable. I've been watching you on cable, and I just came to realize that this is the kind of church I wanted to be part of. That's what you're talking about. That starter pack has got to let people know that we're welcoming, Mm-hmm. Probably we're not very judgmental. And yeah, I think you're right.
So that one will probably be done later. Like I will do the other stuff first.
Sure.
And then let everyone sort of think about what should go in that.
So but from where you stand, is there still a videos list that's chronological?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So.
Yeah. So actually what ends up happening is you'll have the first page, which has all of the playlists that we put in, but you can always click there's a button next over where it gives you the entire list as we have it just now. So you can always sort of revert it back. Sometimes I do this when I hate the channel's playlists. I'm like, no, I don't want any of those playlists. I want to find this particular video. Sometimes that happens, but so that the chronological list is always an option and will always be option no matter what we do with it. Super.
Mm-hmm. I think that's great. People will on occasion say, I remember when Emily sang Ave Maria and I just want to hear that again. I mean, that kind of stuff, so it was a Blue Christmas from 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So as long as they have the ability to do that, I think we're doing nothing but enhancing this. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of working on a little bit of a list of things I have to do for you. I'll talk to Mark and we'll get you access to the YouTube page.
Okay.
All right. I think we'll just probably end up sharing it with you as a privileged user. Okay. All right. I'm going to send you links to the web sheet so you can see how we're cataloging this stuff. Okay. Just for your information. And I'll send you, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I'll send you a URL with the timestamp included.
Oh yes, definitely. Because if that works, let's do it. Yeah,
it's great, and it's the kind of thing you can plug into an email. You can plug it into a post. So, yeah, okay. Is there anything else that you need from me at this point?
No, I mean the big thing would be just if you have, you're reading through the thing and there's like, your insights, I guess. So when you're sending the other stuff, just do you have any comments on that and thoughts? And probably what I'll end up doing is once I have that and start doing stuff, I don't know if I'm going to try to do a playlist a week or something like that to try to get it together. But I'll just let you guys know. I'll send you an email. Here, this is what I did this week. Just to keep you guys in the loop. So you're like... Yeah, so if you go look at it and something weird's going on, we know it early, just in case.
Sounds good. And if you think of it as you start working on a section, if you just drop us an email, say just so I'm working on a music playlist or whatever. That would be helpful.
I'll let you know which ones I'm on.
Yeah, that'll be helpful to us. All right. And obviously with Zoom, we can get together with Mark at some point as we talk progress.
Absolutely. That sounds great.
Sounds good, Tyler. All right. I'm excited. I think this is going to enhance our presence a lot.
Okay. Yeah. I think it will.
Yeah. All right. Anything else we need to do?
I don't think so.
All right.
I think that we got a good start now.
Good. Okay. We'll catch you later on then, Tyler.
Yeah, I'll see you Wednesday then.
Yes. Yeah, sounds good. Okay. Bye now.